I assume you're a fan of an espresso martini, but you're looking for a few alternatives to liven things up again. So I've got 5 coffee cocktails that aren't espresso martinis that are well worth trying. The first couple that I will run into are relatively easy, well, very easy, I should say. And then I'm going into a couple more in-depth cocktails. They require a few more ingredients, but are still very worthwhile making, such as like the tiramisu cocktail. Mwah! It's delicious, but will require a trip to the shops. But before I get started making cocktails, I'm going to talk about what I've been doing over the last 5 or 6 months, and that is making a coffee liqueur for my distillery threefold. We source beans from a local roaster called Hark. We use a blend of their beans from Brazil and Colombia, and we do a triple extraction for the coffee. So we make a cold brew, we do a tincture, which is vodka and coffee, and then we also make a mocha pot coffee. The reason we wanted to do that was because we wanted more of that rich, fresh, hot brewed coffee kind of note. So we want to add more richness, make it more robust, and I think we've achieved that. We're very happy with it, but it took us a while to get there. The sugar content on this coffee liqueur is well worth noting as well, because when you're going to be using it and mixing it in cocktails, then you need to take that into consideration. So this has 210 grams per litre compared to something like Kahlua, which is 400 grams per litre. So it's half the amount of sugar, sits in a similar realm to Mr. Black, which is 250 grams per litre. Now, of course, if you don't have this particular coffee liqueur, you can use an alternate one. Just you might have to respec depending on what you use. If you use something like Kahlua or Tia Maria, which is a lot sweeter, you'll have to adjust your specs. But let's get started with the coffee house, AKA a coffee old fashioned. Just 3 ingredients. I believe the original recipe did call for equal parts of rye whiskey and coffee liqueur. I'm making a version which will probably be a little bit more suited to the modern palate, more of the whiskey rather than doing a 1-to-1 ratio. So 2 ounces, 60 ml of rye whiskey. I'm using Gospel Solera Rye, which is an Australian whiskey. And then 1 ounce, 30 ml of threefold coffee liqueur. Smells so good. And then 2 dashes of orange bitters. I also think like orange and maybe a chocolate bitters or orange and cardamom bitters would work quite nicely too. So 2 dashes. This is STB orange bitters. This is my orange bitters, which has gentian, cassia, cardamom, quite orange forward because I've distilled orange as well as macerated orange. There's too many orange bitters out there that don't actually taste like orange. Plenty of ice to cover the level of the liquid, and then stir for 20 seconds. Remember, you don't have to stir it for too long because you are serving this one over ice. Serving over a nice clear cube. And as far as garnish goes, a twist of orange. My oranges are looking pretty manky, so therefore I'm going to do a twist of lemon, which lemon works quite nicely with coffee too, so I'm okay with that. Nice and simple, coffee house, 3 ingredients, rye whiskey, coffee liqueur, and orange bitters. Cheers. That is delicious. Rye whiskey is still the hero, and then you've got that undertone of coffee to just wake you up a little bit. Now, I think this balance is quite nice, doing that ratio of 2-to-1. If you were having this as a nightcap and it was your last drink, I might be tempted to add like a bar spoon of Demerara syrup. It doesn't need it by any means, but depends on the occasion, depends when you're having it. I like the fact that this is a little bit more booze forward, whiskey forward, I should say. Let's get on to cocktail number 2. Okay, this next one is the Carajillo, a Spanish cocktail. The original recipe is equal parts of Licor 43 and espresso coffee. Then you can fortify that by adding any base spirit. You can add rum, tequila, mezcal, what have you. But the base recipe is just Licor 43 and espresso equal parts, which I've done before on the channel, so therefore I want to mix it up and do something a little bit different. Just the base recipe is such a sensational drink, and it's all thanks to Licor 43, which this is not a sponsored video, but it's just a really nice liqueur, and for such a simple drink, there is so much intensity and so much flavor that comes through with just the equal part cocktail. So in this version, I'm gonna add a little bit of mezcal. So I've got 1 ounce 30 ml of Licor 43, 1 ounce 30 ml of mezcal. This particular one is the La Luna mezcal. Then I have 45 ml fresh espresso. Plenty of ice, and give it a shake. So good. You can serve this up if you like, or over ice. Like, that looks intense and fantastic. It's been way too long since I've shared some coffee cocktails on the channel. A Carajillo with mezcal. The Carajillo has to be one of my all-time favorite coffee cocktails for its simplicity and its versatility. The fact that you can just add brandy, rum, tequila, mezcal. And I really like the mezcal. There's a beautiful balance between the smokiness from the mezcal, the sweetness and the flavors going on, the kind of vanilla notes and spices, and the coffee, the bitterness of the coffee. There's just this really, really nice balance between all three ingredients there. The crema on it, it's really nice and textural. All right, I gotta stop drinking this. Got 3 more to go. All right, I am pumped to share this recipe. This is the tiramisu, credited to Lab Bar in London, which has since closed down. I think it closed down quite some time ago. We are using a coffee liqueur, Italian Marsala, or a Marsala, which is an Italian fortified wine. This is a semi-sec, which is a semi-sweet. It comes in a few different styles, sweet, semi-sweet, dry, different aging methods. I recommend having a bit of a deep dive into Marsala. I haven't used it on the channel before. Then we have white crème de cacao, which is a chocolate liqueur, coffee, mascarpone cheese, sugar, and bitters. So let's get into the drink. I picked up some new glasses. These awesome, they've been on my shopping list for a long time. Riedel Nicanora glasses. I know this cocktail is probably not going to fit in the glass, but I just really want to use it. So I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. I have a little sidecar of tiramisu. So 3/4 of an ounce, 22.5 ml of coffee liqueur, threefold. We have the Marsala, 3/4 of an ounce, 22.5 ml. So depending on the style, this particular one, semi-sweet, it's been aged. You get like those dried raisins or dried fruit kind of characters to it. Then we have chocolate liqueur, crème de cacao, 1/2 ounce, 15 ml. And then espresso, chilled espresso. So I pulled this all off half an hour ago. It's been sitting in the fridge and it's pre-measured 1.5 ounces, 45 ml. Now, because we're using a liqueur, the coffee liqueur, which is a little bit dry, the original recipe does call for a dash of simple syrup, which is a very small amount. Lab Bar was open quite some time ago, so I'm assuming they're probably using a coffee liqueur that has more sugar content. So I'm going to up that a touch to a teaspoon. So 5 ml, 1/6 of an ounce simple syrup. Then we've got mascarpone cheese, a teaspoon, give or take. Can't say I've used mascarpone cheese in a cocktail until trying this cocktail. Get in there. Give this a little rinse. Oh, it smells good. The coffee's punchy on the nose. Just checking, making sure I'm recording. I've done that way too many times, not recorded. Lots of ice and shake. Ooh. Damn it. Oh, guys. Chocolate bitters as well. Yeah, this is amateur hour here. 2 dashes of chocolate bitters. Such a rookie. Forgetting an ingredient. And double strain. Yeah. As suspected, there was no chance of fitting in this glass. %90 dark chocolate, grated over the top. Beautiful, beautiful. Now I could edit that footage and make it look like that I didn't forget the chocolate bitters, but I'm going to leave it in because that's real. I mean, people can relate to it. A lot of people do that at home. Anytime I make a mistake, people seem to actually like it, so I'll keep it in there. Tiramisu looks really creamy, really textural. Plenty of coffee notes in there. Coffee liqueur, espresso, 45 ml, 1.5 ounces, chocolate bitters to enhance those coffee notes. This, my friends, looks and is delicious. Chocolate, coffee, dried fruits, and then you get that creaminess from the cheese. I tried the Parmesan espresso martini. This I approve of. Parmesan, no go. But using mascarpone cheese in a tiramisu espresso coffee cocktail, this I approve of. Absolute winner for sure. Let's get on to the next one. So the next drink we're making is the Spanish coffee, which is a hot drink, flamed caramelized sugar on the rim of the glass. It's gonna be fun to make, guys. And it's the signature drink of Portland. Gonna need some scales if you wanna make your coffee accurately. So I'm doing a pour over coffee, so you could also use French press if you like. I'm doing a 16:1 ratio. So I'm gonna measure out 25 grams of coffee, medium to coarse grind. My bag's coffee, it's running low. Let's try it this way. So 25 grams of coffee ground. And then I'll zero the scales out again and add 400 milliliters, 400 grams of 95-degree water. Just put it nice and slow over the top. And I've already got my glass tempering over here, so I've already got hot water in it. Now I can set this aside once I add that water in, and it should be ready to go by the time I make the rest of the drink. I don't have a plate lying around, so I'm using the bottom container of my citrus juicer. Add a little bit of sugar in and rim the glass with sugar. Thick rim. Tap it to get rid of any excess sugar. And then the recipe calls for an overproof rum. I'm using, well, it does call for a 151, so a 75.5% rum. I'm using just an overproof, which sits at 69%. It's close, but it's not quite there. This will pair nicely with the coffee in the coffee liqueur and the coffee itself. So, yeah, I'm very happy with my choice of rum. Plantaray OFTD, so 3/4 of an ounce, 22.5 ml, add that straight into the glass. Be cautious because it's quite hard to see that it's actually a light. Try and caramelize the sugar on the edge of the glass. That wasn't intentional. So whilst that's caramelizing, I'm going to start by measuring the coffee liqueur. So 1.5 ounces, 45 ml. Add that into the drink, which should put out the flame because you've lowered the ABV. And then we have a 1/4 ounce, 7.5 ml of orange liqueur of your choice, triple sec. I'm using Grand Marnier, cognac base, nice and rich. And now my coffee's ready to go. So you don't want to top it all the way to the rim because we're going to add a little layer of cream on top as well. So, cream. You could do this in a cocktail shaker as well. This is just going to be handy because it's got a little pour spout. And again, you don't have to do this, but it's going to make it very quick if you use a shaker spring. Add that straight in. Give it a quick shake. It should bead on your finger. And optionally, if you wanted to, you could add a little bit of coffee liqueur, a little bit of Grand Marnier into your cream. I think that's good. Should layer nicely. Yeah, perfect. Oh, that looks good. That looks so good. All these coffee cocktails look fantastic. I'm going to be very honest. I could have done a much better job of caramelizing that sugar on the edge of the glass. Done a pretty poor job. It's pretty much caramelized on this one side. And to finish it off, grated nutmeg over the top. Spanish coffee. Cheers. There's something about drinking a hot drink through cold cream. It's really good. Irish coffees, Dominicana, whilst it's not a hot drink, you're sipping coffee and rum through cream. That fattiness, it just adds a lot of richness. Got that warming spice on the nose. Holy shit, I understand why this is Portland's signature drink, because it's fucking great. I love that. I would really like to incorporate some Grand Marnier into the cream itself. Add some orangey notes through the cream. That'd be epic. Very, very good. We've got one more cocktail to make. Let's get to it. The combination of espresso and tonic really intrigues me. I've tried it, I haven't tried espresso and tonic, I've tried coffee liqueur and tonic, and it works really well. Those flavor combinations, the bitter coffee and the bitterness and the quinine from the tonic play really well together. So this plays off that. This is used that flavor combination as a base, but we also incorporate a few extra ingredients, which I'm gonna double check my recipe because I haven't actually made this one before. Got it. This is the suppressor 1766. So we've got a sweet vermouth, an Amontillado sherry, or in my case, a dry aged Ripera. It's made in Australia, so we have to call it that. Then we have a coffee liqueur, 3-fold coffee liqueur. The link is in the description. Orange bitters and tonic. So this one's built in the glass. If you wanted to, you could give it a really brief shake just to combine the ingredients. So 1.5 ounces, 45 ml sweet vermouth. So wine base, fortified with botanicals, one of them being a wormwood. Then we have Amontillado dry sherry, 3/4 of an ounce, 22.5 ml. That's like nutty raisin dried fruit characters, apricot-ish maybe. Then 3/4 of an ounce, 22.5 ml coffee liqueur. 2 dashes of STB orange bitters. Plenty of ice. And oh, that was so close. So close to dropping it. And roughly 2 ounces, 60 ml of tonic. Very gentle stir to combine. The original recipe calls for a lemon twist and a cardamom leaf. I don't know who the fuck has cardamom leaf lying around. So, I'm gonna put a couple of cardamom pods. Pods? That's the second time I've done that. So I don't have any cardamom leaf. I'm gonna add a couple of cardamom pods. Pods? Stop saying pods. Right. I don't have any cardamom leaf on hand, so cardamom pods. I will add a few on top there for the aromatics. Oh God. There's gonna be a few outtakes for this video. Leaning towards the low ABV side for a cocktail, we've got sweet vermouth, Amontillado sherry, coffee, and tonic. I was expecting it to be on the more of the bitter side, but it's on the sweeter side. But it's a cool combination. I think I'd want to adjust the specs a little bit, just to, or maybe even just more, touch more tonic. Because there's quite a few ingredients, or there's a decent volume. There's 90 ml of these three ingredients, which means that the effervescence isn't quite there. There's a little bit more tonic should fix it. There you go. I just need a touch more tonic, makes it more lively, balances out those flavors. Coffee, nutty, bitterness from the tonic as well as the coffee. This is cool. It's a nice low ABV drink. If I'm being all honest, it's probably my least favorite out of the cocktails I've tried. Not saying that's terrible. Just, I made some really good cocktails for the lead up to this. So, thanks for watching. Make sure you check out the links in the description below so you can grab a bottle of threefold coffee liqueur if you are located in Australia. Also, I have a range of bitters. I have an orange, chocolate, and a coffee. I'm working on an umami, a tiki, a chili bitters. I've got more in the works. If you're based in the US, I do apologize. Trump's tariffs have put a spanner in the works, so I can't ship there at the moment, but that should be resolved in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. Otherwise, I'll see you soon for another cocktail video.